and me, Katharina Michio. We're looking forward to seeing you in our chat. Watch William Steele in the Spotlight on YouTube.
Welcome to the show. This is William Steele and Steele, a Spotlight Television and Public Relations, along with TransMedia Group. And we have a very special guest today. We have the incredible Michael Mota. Michael Mota is a phenomenal businessman, entrepreneur, host, and creator of an incredible Sopranos convention. I'll let him tell you more about that and his ideas. And he's been maligned lately in the media and with a lot of false accusations. And the lawsuit was brought by him and his attorney, Peter Ticktin. Peter Ticktin's also Donald Trump's attorneys, one of them, and a lifelong friend of Donald Trump. We're going to introduce Michael and let him tell his story here in his words. You're not going to believe it until you hear it. You talk about false accusations. You know, we cover that on Wrongful Conviction Wednesdays, and we're working with people that have been wrongfully convicted of crimes. But when you're a successful businessman, it's almost as bad to have fake accusations written about you in the media. So we're looking forward to helping him share his story here. Michael, welcome to the show.
Hey, how are you? Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
No problem. I see you have somebody looking over your shoulder there. Give me and my audience some insight about who's that character.
Yeah, so that's the famous James Gandolfini. That's about a 20-foot mural that was commissioned actually by Brazilian some Brazilian artist that we had come out to Sopranos Con. We flew him out, and over the 2-day convention that we had, he actually spray painted that in front of the whole audience. So that's been following around with me for a long time. That was in 2019. So I like to have him behind me and kind of give me a little bit of some information every once in a while when I need it. Some encouragement.
I hear you. Some of my fans, your fans may not know me. Your supporters. I'm Bill from Inmate to Roommate, season 1, second highest rated reality show in television. It's about getting out of incarceration after I did 18 years for nonviolent crime, turned my life around. Now I do crime victim advocacy. I tell stories, inspirational turnaround stories, and we work with those who are wrongfully convicted. A lot of them need help. The Innocence Project is overwhelmed. I've written several books, and links will all be in the descriptions, along with links for anything Michael would like to mention. But awesome. We're going to get into your story now. And my fans, a lot of them say I look like a little bit like Gandolfini. So I don't know.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I can see it.
I was at the premiere for Silent Partners in New York in December, my first time back to New York after getting out of prison. And it was a mixed blessing because I had to go to the cemetery. My mother passed away when I was incarcerated, but I also attended the premiere for Silent Partners and was able to spend some time with Katharina Michio. She played on Sopranos as well and had a relationship with Gandolfini in real life. And so we actually went out to lunch with her and had an afternoon with her. And she said, "Nope, you don't look like him."
So he gave guys like us the ability to be attractive again, like make America great again. He made guys like us a little on the heaviest side and a little bit losing a little bit of the hair. But no, he was a great guy. Funny story. I met him in person before he passed away, and he was such a great guy. It was an event out of New Jersey, and Tony Darrow, who's a great actor, became a great friend of mine, had a fundraiser in New Jersey. And this is kind of how it all started. I went to New Jersey to this event, and I kept saying, "Oh, is Gandolfini going to be there? Is Gandolfini going to be there?" And at that time, this was like real. The show was going crazy, and they said, "Well, you never know who's going to be there." So I get there, I rush. I stayed overnight. I couldn't wait. I brought the newest camera I could find, and I was ready to go. There had to be, I like to say, probably about 300, 400 people, if not more. Beautiful dinner. They had Sopranos wines, and everybody was there. Big Pussy was there. Uncle Junior was there, Dominic Chianese. And this is prior to me having my event. So this was like the first time I'm getting to learn these guys. And Gandolfini, unfortunately, wasn't there. Tony Sirico was there. And I was taking pictures and pictures and pictures. And then the show started. About 20 minutes into the show, all of a sudden, there was this aura you could just feel something change. The mood changed in the room, and it was Gandolfini. And for those that know Gandolfini, he was definitely the opposite of what Tony Soprano really was in the show, and hence what acting is like, right? So he came in the room, sat down, and of course I was instant fan. I'm snapping pictures. It was ridiculous. So I timed it just right where the meal was going to end. And of course, your assumption is, a big star like James Gandolfini, he's gonna rush out of there. You're never gonna get a chance to meet him, etc. So I ran as fast as I could. I got to the front of the line, and there he was. Big guy, and he shook my hand. He signed a Sopranos DVD case, and it was magic. So I kind of lingered around for a little bit, and people were in line, and he was signing the autographs. Very gracious. A lot of the other stars were leaving. And right again, I went back in the line and I said, you know what? Can you sign this for me? He goes, wait a minute, kid. Weren't you already in line? I said, oh, no, this is my wife. He goes, yeah, true story. So he took a picture. And can you believe he stayed until the end? He did not leave until every autograph was signed. He was just a humble guy. And I still remember the day he passed and where I was exactly when it happened. But phenomenal guy, phenomenal show.
Yeah, funny. I think I told you I was incarcerated 18 years for nonviolent crime, and I had never seen The Sopranos. And so when I got out, it's one of the things I did binge, and I enjoyed the series. Of course, being from Brooklyn, certain things you could pick apart because you kind of know the life from. I wasn't in the life, but from being an observer, and it was all around my neighborhood. But yeah, it was a great series. Let me see. So you have something now, like you're an entrepreneur. We have mutual friends. We have Bruce Sosa, especially. We're going to show some images of Bruce and you together. But sure. Bruce Sosa's up and coming A-list actor, incredible guys from your neck of the woods, from Rhode Island. And you just do so much. I mean, I'm going to show the logo from your website there if you guys want to know what that looks like. So Michael's a businessman who develops things, and he's had a run-in with a journalist, it seems like, who just wants to continually put out negative press about him. Now, I don't think you make any bones about it that we are definitely conservatives. I believe you're a Christian as well, like I am, and we have conservative values. And this journalist who we're doing a deep dive into, and I'm sure she'll be doing one on me and everybody else connected to our role in this. But she seems to be a Democrat. She seems to be bent on trying to disparage you in every way, shape, or form with, so many misleading things. We found a whole bunch of things that she did this previously. The Boston Globe has been sued repeatedly by other people for libelous, slanderous stories they've had to pay. We have a list of other lawsuits, and we'll put them in the description. Boston Globe I thought, had a very good reputation. I don't know why they're giving this journalist free reign to go after you. I'm sure you or your lawyers have complained to the editor, but tell us about your accomplishments and how she's impacted them and what she's doing. And we know Peter Ticktin, a friend of ours, who's also friends with Donald Trump, and his lawyer, one of his lawyers, is representing you now in that lawsuit. Tell us more about your background and how you became who you are. You seem to be like I'm learning about you recently through a mutual friend. He's been raving about you for months. Every time I meet him, speaks very highly of you. And I'm learning about you, doing my research with my fiance. Tell us from your perspective, who are you? Where did you come from, and how did you get involved with the things you're involved with?
Thank you. So I'm Michael Mota. I came from humble beginnings. My parents came from Portugal when they were 13 and 15. They actually met here in Rhode Island. They left the country that they loved because they didn't have any money to take care of themselves. They didn't have shoes. They didn't have enough food to feed the family. So they moved to this country to have a better life for my sister and I when they got married. Grew up in North Providence, Rhode Island. Went to elementary school, middle school, high school, lifelong Rhode Islander. Rhode Island, as most of your viewers know, is the smallest state in the United States. Great state. Went to school to be a school teacher, taught third grade and fifth grade after graduating. Opened up my first company, which I then realized that entrepreneurship was for me. I like to call myself a serial entrepreneur, and that's me when I was a little thinner. But yeah, started as an educator, teacher, wrote a children's book. Did that for about 5 years. Then I actually stopped when, funny politics right now, but I ran a congressional campaign, United States congressional campaign for a gentleman named Anthony Gemma. That's when Patrick Kennedy, one of the Kennedys, stepped down from office. We did very well, came in second. And at that point, we were kind of together. Marketing has always been something that I've had a passion for. At that time, there was a company that he had owned, Anthony Gemma, called Media Appeal. Media Appeal was a marketing company here in Rhode Island, doing things for his company, Gem Plumbing and Heating, and some other big companies, Tim Hortons. And he asked me to run the company for him. So I left teaching. I kind of jumped off the cliff like most entrepreneurs do. It's all about risking everything, right? So it was an opportunity. At that time, there was a small company, but it was growing, and no one really knew who they were. The company was called Alex and Ani. Alex and Ani was a few employees, had been around for about 8 years, but had just secured a new CEO, Giovanni Feroci, which is kind of part of this whole story. He became the CEO of the company. I met him at an event for a senator here in the state of Rhode Island, and we hit it off. I invited him to Media Appeal, and he came down and learned about what we could do and what we offered, and we became the marketing arm for Alex and Ani. At that point, we were growing like wildfire. People loved the messaging. They loved what we were doing on the marketing side of things. Excuse me. So we just kept moving and growing. After about a year, I realized that Alex and Ani was where I needed to be. So I set up an acquisition between Alex and Ani and Media Appeal. Alex and Ani bought Media Appeal. I became the vice president of marketing for Alex and Ani. I was one of the top 20 executives at Alex and Ani, and we grew that company before it ended, was about $1 billion right here in Rhode Island, the jewelry capital of the world. And we did some really great things. That's kind of how.
Did you say Rhode Island's the media capital of the world?
Jewelry capital of the world. Yeah.
Jewelry. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so we brought manufacturing back to Rhode Island. It's funny, I could see the picture in your background. That's actually the city of Providence.
Yeah, and I know that's your venue behind, isn't it?
Yeah, so I have a venue there called Skyline at Water Place. That was after I left Alex and Ani. So continuing my story, I left Alex and Ani. So did the CEO. And at that time, this Amanda Milkovich, who was this reporter you were speaking about, to kind of give you a little clarity on the situation. She was actually a reporter at the Providence Journal. Providence Journal is the local newspaper that we have here. And as you know, newspapers have been dying out year after year after year. So 7 years ago, believe it or not, when I had left Alex and Ani, you can do the research. She did a scathing article on Giovanni Feroci, very similar to what she did on me, an attack piece, everything that Donald Trump talks about on the media, lies, again, brutal things in the newspaper, which is one-sided, right? And you can read it. And at that time, she had reached out to me to try to do a story on me, but obviously there was nothing to write a story about. Fast forward the tape 7 years later, now she's at the Boston Globe. So that kind of puts clarity. So people are asking, like, what does Boston Globe have to do with the state of Rhode Island? Well, when newspapers started to go down, they had to reinvent themselves. So the Boston Globe hired some newspaper reporters, and I use that term loosely, to try to report for the Boston Globe, but it's the Rhode Island division. So she had reached out to me about a year and a half ago, saying that she was doing a story on me. And of course, she had some folks that wanted to try to throw some bad things toward me. And of course, listen, at the end of the day, when you're doing something, you're always going to get ridiculed, right? You're always going to get critiqued, because those that don't do, right, they just comment on others.
Right.
So exactly. So she found a couple folks that would fit her narrative. Again, why she's decided to do this to me, I don't know. I don't know why a human being would want to go after another human being. It's just not part of my culture. It's not part of my religion. It's not part of my human nature. I would never want to go after somebody to hurt them. And that's what she did. She wrote 17 articles in a very short time frame. I'm not a political figure. I'm not a public figure. I'm an entrepreneur. I've done tons for charity events. And, I had enough, when the first article was written, that's an Inc. 500 picture, when I brought it, Seven Swords, which ended up becoming the marketing arm for Alex and Ani. They ended up running top 500 companies in the world. So we've had a lot of accolades, and again, people don't like to talk about accolades, right? They like to talk about the negative stuff, and that's what sells newspapers, and that's kind of where we are.
They've done it. I will say this, my fiance is a forensic accountant, and she's basically a fraud examiner. She's studied this. She got into UC Berkeley at 15 years old. My girl's a genius, okay? And she started looking at this individual, wondering why she would just target you like this. She couldn't find anything the first time around because there was nothing there. Now she gets promoted to a much bigger newspaper. Somebody that I thought had a lot of credibility. I'm not so sure anymore. And this is my opinion for the newspaper, the lawyers, and for the algorithm and all that. This is my opinion. I'm shocked that they would let this woman continue to print such negative articles about people. They've been sued successfully for libel and slander. They've had to settle multi-million-dollar lawsuits over things exactly like this woman seems to be doing. And it's just disgusting. But we've discovered that she happens to be a staunch Democrat. Now, we've already said what our beliefs are. And so maybe she doesn't like the fact that you're an entrepreneur, you're a businessman, you're giving people jobs, you're helping people that are, that need a hand, getting up in life, and you're successful yourself. I mean, your backstory was a very humble one. You went into a very noble profession in the beginning. You're teaching kids. You got an education to teach kids. I mean, that's like somebody who studies to be a librarian or a nurse. They have the best of intentions.
Yeah. I mean, again, I don't know what the motives are. I don't know if it's to sell newspapers. I can't imagine that Michael Mota is going to sell that many newspapers. It was in the Boston Globe. I don't even live in Boston. I've done so many great things. None of that comes out. And again, everybody is entitled to their opinion. The issue then becomes, and I'm not trying to silence anyone. That was one of the articles that I was trying to silence my critics. She picked three. I'll give you an example. She picked three individuals that I haven't seen in 5 or 6 years that have nothing really to even do with me and don't even really know me that well. One individual, I actually got a position at Alex and Ani, and he changed his whole life around. And he was quoted in this newspaper article saying that you can't believe anything that comes out of Michael Mota's mouth. Now, we can all have opinions, I may not like certain things, but when you're saying things as fact, that's something you should have to prove. Like, if you can't believe anything that came out of my mouth, like, what has it been? Just luck? Again, coming from two immigrant parents who worked hard all their lives, who've done really well, to where I am today, doing pretty damn well. How did it happen? Is it all by chance?
Right. It's like when they try to disparage Trump, especially in the beginning. Oh, all these bankruptcies he filed. Well, guess what? He's probably opened 100 businesses. Of course, not all of them are going to make it. Like you said, entrepreneurs go out on a ledge.
You could always get a few, there's two things. There's entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs are people that want to be an entrepreneur, but never will be. And then there's entrepreneurs. I risk it all every day. I wake up and, I've had thousands of employees. Can you go get some that may not like me? Sure. Can you get some people that may not like me in general? Sure. Am I tough in business? Sometimes I can be, but do I do a lot of great things? Do I do a lot of things for charities? Do I help people all the time? Have I
toot your own horn right now if you want to share publicly some of the charities you've been involved with?
There's so many I can't even remember. I do it because I want to do it. I wouldn't even say it if it wasn't for this nonsense. I have an individual who's stage 4 cancer, 3-time survivor. Good friend of mine, I've known him for 20 years. He fell on some tough times. I pay for his car payment every month. Is that written anywhere? Is that said anywhere? Will he say it? Absolutely. He would say it in a second, but I don't need to say it because I don't need to prove to anybody, but when I read things like she wrote in there that I didn't give money to a charity for a soprano event, but then immediately after it said that I did donate. So it just doesn't make sense. And again, for me, I don't have that in me to try to take somebody out. I don't have it in me to accuse people of certain things. It's not up to me. I'm not, we have a God. There's a God out there. His job is to watch what people are doing, and we'll all have to answer to him one day. That's not what this is about. I've done everything I can to do as best as I can. I take very tough jobs on. I take very tough businesses on to protect them and to save them. Yes, there's going to be some folks that might want to taint the truth a little bit, but I don't have a problem with people saying the truth. Just use the facts. And this woman is not using the facts. So I'll tell you exactly what happened. she came out. It hurt my family because my family is very humble. So this hurt them. They're not as vocal as I am. It hurt my children. They had to deal with this in the newspaper. It hurt my in-laws, who've been in business for over 65 years, unblemished records. They got, this woman, and this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. I think this is important. I thank you for all the work that you're doing for folks as well. I want people to understand why am I doing it. I'm not doing it because I have anything to deal with Amanda Milkovich. As far as I'm concerned, I could care less about her. I could care less about the things people say about me. I got thick skin. And no problem. People can make comments to me all the time. I can hang with the best of them. I think what really, really impacted me was when she first hit me with the virtual con and that I'm a con man because she twisted my words about conventions and she tried to be cute when she wasn't. I did the biggest event in history. In the Sopranos history, 55 cast members, over 15,000 people. This woman will take 3 people that said, they didn't have a good experience. It's like a restaurant. When you go to a restaurant, you might have a great meal. You might tell a few people, right? But you're happy. But, there's going to be maybe 100 people that, if they don't like the meal, they're going to tell everybody. This particular woman came after me, came after my family.
Good analogy.
Yeah, she did it more than once. She did it twice. She did it 3 times. She did it 17 times in a less than 6 months. She even followed me, stalked me, came to Florida where I was doing business, and it's funny because she comments about employees and people's families, but these are people's families she's hurting, right? So if you're going to do something to me, you're going to do something to the people that are directly correlated with me. So that was it hit a different spot with me. I saw my wife upset about it, not about the accusations, not about all that nonsense, because those that know me, right? I'm a big believer that those that know you and love you, just like Trump, right? There was an attempted assassination on Saturday, right? Such a tragedy for this country. Yeah. But there's the 50% that love him are going to love him no matter what. And the 50% that hate him are going to hate him no matter what. So I know that's out there, and there's no reason to believe that isn't. But when it started to impact my life, when I would go and get hedge funds and discussing different projects we're doing, real estate developments, and they Google, and the only thing that they see is this nonsense. And I had to explain myself over and over and over. And listen, every single time they understood. Every single time, guess what? The deal still gets done. It's a pain in the ass. It's work. But why would I allow someone who certainly is not at my caliber of doing things in life like I have, try to stain me and be the only voice? So I'll tell you, as a marketing guy who's done this all their lives, I thought to myself, okay, what do I do, right? Do I get an attorney here in Rhode Island? Do I try to fight the Boston Globe? They're big. Obviously nobody even knows who she is, but, as far as, what do I do? So I said, you know what? I'm going to do this not for myself. I'm going to do it for my family, but I'm also going to do it for all those that can't go after folks that do this all the time. The people that commit suicide. I've learned of a few folks over the last few months that committed suicide because of this kind of nonsense, because this
we certainly don't encourage that. If you're having for the algorithms and for YouTube, if you're feeling like you're looking at the end or going through a depression, contact mental health professionals, clergy, family. Let them know. This is a show for news and informational purposes. and that's definitely not the solution. And if you want to reach out to me to talk or anybody else, reach out. We certainly don't encourage that, but I understand where Michael's coming from, is that he has the wherewithal to stand up to this crazy sort of libel and slander. And this lady evidently is trying to make a name for herself by bringing down an innocent guy who's doing all the right things, is doing nothing but helping people. And go ahead and finish your train of thought there, Mike.
Yeah, no, so I'm speaking more for those that can't speak for themselves. You know, I've heard so many people, so many stories, and I was fortunate enough to meet TransMedia. We both know them. Great marketing firm, PR firm that I hired to help build back my brand. That's really the reality. I mean, I'm 43 years old. I built a brand, and to have this person decide, you know what, I'm gonna just stay in it. It's just not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen with me. That's for sure. She picked the wrong guy.
Right.
So at the end of the day, I met Peter Ticktin. Peter Ticktin is a dear friend of Donald Trump. President Donald Trump, went to school with him in high school, was an attorney for Donald Trump. And I said to myself, what's going to get people to actually listen?
Peter's not only a good friend of Donald Trump's, he's a good friend of mine. And he went to New York Military Academy with Trump, and he represents him in the lawsuit, the racketeering lawsuit against Hillary Clinton. They're very, very dear friends. They're at Mar-a-Lago together and other venues all the time. Yeah,
I was actually invited to Mar-a-Lago, and I have a picture with Peter, and he invited me to the event, and we had a great time. And he's a great attorney, and I told him my story, and he said, "Listen, we can't let this happen. We can't let this happen to folks out there, not just yourself. We're going to go after the Boston Globe. We're going to go after her. We're going to go after the damages. It costs hundreds of millions of dollars in losses." When someone can just do what they think they want to do whenever they want to do it. Words are powerful, and when you say something, you better have something to back it up. And she doesn't, because clearly I lived it. So I know the truth. So, if she wants to continue to go on these lies, I'll go to a jury of my peers. Let the jury decide. Let the jury say, okay, here's the situation, and we'll have our day in court.
I know it's early and the lawsuit was recently filed, but I would think they're going to come to you real quick with some sort of settlement and a retraction, because they just have to. They can't let these stories fly. I think Trump early on, God bless him. We pray for him and his family. He looked great during the convention. Yeah. He looked a little more reserved. I even thought I saw a tear in his eye yesterday about how humbled he's been. Almost lost his life 50-something hours before. And then here he shows up. Now we were doing these just as a little aside. I know you said sometimes he might be a little hokey, but so we have these things that we're going to start having people promote and wear. So
yeah, I like that.
An American flag bandage over the ear. So Tom Madden, TransMedia Group, has said, "Hey, see if you get people to start wearing these. We're going to get them going at the convention and everywhere else." So. Yeah. But yeah, he's gone through hell. And I've said early on, because he's always said he's a counterpuncher. He never settles. He always litigates with people that go after him. When they started making false accusations against him in the media on so many things, I was wondering, why is he not going after these media outlets and shutting them down, including the network he used to work for in The Apprentice when he was the head, head guy. It was so collapsed when he left because Schwarzenegger couldn't do it. But I was always, so you're doing, in my opinion, the right thing. You're standing up for people that can't. We've been through stuff as well, and for telling the truth, and we don't have the wherewithal to go after the people that did that to us. But at the same time, you try to reach an agreement where there's an impasse, and but like again in social media or the internet or whatever, these things stay around forever. So regardless of how this resolves, then you're going to have to do reputation management control as far as overloading the system with the outcome of this. Which if the Boston Globe and steps up and does the right thing, this will be resolved very quickly. So
look, at the end of the day, I said this from the beginning: win or lose, I've already won. And the reason why is because they only had one side of the story. There's always three sides of every story, right? Mm-hmm. Their side, your side, and the truth. I wanted to at least get this lawsuit filed, which it's now filed. Yep. And you'll be seeing it all over the place. And the reason why is because now it's my side as well. I'm not going to allow somebody to just try. The key word is try, because they'll never destroy me. Just like they'll never assassinate the president. He's going to fight. At the end of the day, it's the same thing. I trust me, I'm not comparing myself to Donald Trump. He's dealing with a lot more than I am. But in my own world, this is just as damaging, right? So
course,
someone tried to assassinate my character, you know, and they should not have the ability to do that.
That's why, like in your case, you have to stand up and use your resources to defend it. In my case, when people come after me, you know, I look at it like this, and I'm a fan of, you know, true crime genre, but now more the inspirational side of it, the turnaround stories like my own. And so I have a comeback line for people who go after me for my past or threaten me with something these days. From Scarface, remember Tony Montana told the immigration guys, he goes, "And nothing you could do to me that ain't already been done."
That's right. That's right. Well, you know what it is? You should never judge anyone, right? So there is no judging of person's personal character. You know, if you don't walk in the shoes of someone, you shouldn't talk about it. You know, I don't know this woman. I've met her a couple times. You know, brutal conversations we've had to have because I've had to tell her, like, you know, what kind of person tries to destroy another person. It's not normal.
They have one thing posted. I'm not going to even say where it is that we just found today, where you're talking to her and you're telling her, what kind of success would I be if I wasn't paying people? I mean, she was just hounding you and you were trying to explain yourself.
I can give you more than she had these podcast tapes, and it was really just audio tapes I let her do. My office is full of Godfather, Armand Assante, who's a friend of mine, you know, James Gandolfini, and she says that, you know, I glorify the mob. You know, it's the ultimate, like, thinking that your readers are stupid. Right. James Gandolfini had nothing to do with the mob. I don't glorify the mob. I don't know the mob. I'm not a mobster. I have nothing to do with any of that. Armand Assante is one of the nicest human beings ever. Just because he played Gotti too, it's called being an actor. You know, that's what I don't understand, you know. So they'll say things, you know, and they think they get away with it because they just make it seem like, well, he must be doing this. Oh, he's flying on private planes, so he must be doing this. You know, asking questions that have nothing to even do with what they do. You know, she's a newspaper reporter. We have homelessness at the top levels. Let me tell you how something
is that you with Armand Assante there?
Yeah, Armand Assante is Bruce Buster Socha. Yes, that's us.
Bruce, our buddy, up and coming A-lister. This guy's phenomenal. Been in movies with Rob Lowe and big A-list stars, and he's a phenomenal friend, man of faith. I love reading and stuff.
Yeah, I'll tell you a funny story. Again, Armand Assante, chairman of our board, you know, she puts in there he's not the chairman of the board. So then I put a video on social media. It's online. He says I'm the chairman of the board. You know, Ice-T was a board member. You know, she just made it seem like everything was not true. You know, it got to a point where I had to look at it myself and say, shit, did I dream this up? Like, I don't even know what she's talking about. You know, but I got to tell you, for your listeners, and why this was so important, and it's going to be important for me to continue this mission of just telling the truth, is I had purchased a hospital in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, called Memorial Hospital. Mm-hmm. And when I had first gone in, Amos House, which is a homeless shelter of families, were living there. And when I got there, and there's a whole story of how it came about, and it was under foreclosure, and the banks worked with me and our team to get everything going. But I was running the project, and I was born there, by the way, so it had some real attachment to me. And when I had gone there, I had seen little kids' shoes everywhere. There was a water leak, and these homeless were now homeless, which is ironic, right? Mm-hmm. And it had been a sprinkler that had gone off, and there was water everywhere. And I vowed that day that I would get those folks back into that hospital, right? It wasn't to make us money. It wasn't the bullshit stories that she said I was trying to get money from the government. Nothing that she said even makes any sense. But, you know, they're allowed to say whatever they want. So for 6 months, we worked with the state. We worked with Amos House, and we got them all the way up to their beds being back. And we were going to have double the amount of folks come in, which was about 120 folks. We had communications come put the telephones. They moved their beds in, et cetera, et cetera. The day she wrote the story, we spent $600,000 for renovations. The showers are better than most hotels that you've ever been in. This was about a year ago. Right when the article came out, the next day, Amos House said, we're not going to move in to Memorial Hospital because of the story. And
oh my gosh.
had these folks still homeless to today. That place still stays vacant. I had to leave Memorial Hospital, sell off my rights because of this story.
So because of Amanda Milkovich, right here, reporter with the Boston Globe's false reporting.
Yes.
There's how many people homeless right now?
Hundreds could be in the Memorial Hospital, but mind you, you got to understand the gravity of this, right? Again, I do big things. Okay, it's just the way I am. I built different. I bought that hospital and participated in that hospital to build 355 affordable housing units for veterans and homeless. I then spent $600,000 of our company's money to get the homeless back in. And that place right now is vacant. And the bullshit stories that have spiraled, oh, it's this, he didn't have the rights to this. It's all nonsense. If you want to fix homelessness, you could fix homelessness. They don't want to fix homelessness. It's just all nonsense.
The Democrats claim that they're big on curing it. And if she would have just talked to you or looked at the facts,
it's there. We could all meet right now. We could go to Memorial Hospital in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, and everybody's story changed when this story came out. You know why? Because it became a political football. When people run for office, the day they're elected, they run for the next term, right? So they don't want any kind of turmoil. And this Amanda Milkovich had pulled all of their cell phone records, all of their emails to the state, to the city. And of course, those representatives were like, you know what? I want to have my hands off. This woman's, she's crazy. She's going to come after us. And then I was left in the wind. You're located right now.
Is she allowed to pull those records because they're public officials? Okay.
That's exactly right.
Because I know a lot of journalists. I know I'm not accusing her, but I know in the past journalists have done that illegally as well.
Oh, listen, I could tell you right now, she wanted her narrative so bad that she contacted people that I don't even know. They contacted me after and tried to get them to change their story illegally, to change their story. And it's all going to come out. Look, at the end of the day, we all face the music, right? So, again,
at the end of the day, I ran this by another attorney who specializes in racketeering law and racketeering lawsuits. What they're doing is, especially by the Boston Globe ignoring it, can be also civilly fought as a racketeering lawsuit and converted to criminal charges for racketeering, because they're using, they're in collusion doing this to you to get ratings or sell papers. You have your side, they have theirs, but they have no facts. You have facts. They have no evidence. You have evidence. They're shown to be coercing people or getting people to change stories, and they're doing things that are really despicable and not honest journalism. So that could actually be a racketeering lawsuit against them collectively and converted to federal prosecution for racketeering. Well, so look, I don't know why they're digging in like this. This just doesn't make any sense.
Sometimes people, they just believe their own bullshit. You're right now. The picture behind you, I laugh because that's the city of Providence, something that I've had a lot of passion over in the last 7 years. My building, Skyline at Water Place, my family's property, is right where your head is. You can kind of see the pillars, and we've done hundreds and thousands of events. We've done the governor's conference downtown. We've done the treasurer's conference. It's local. Look how beautiful that facility is. We designed it.
That's inside the venue. What's it called?
It's called Skyline at Water Place. $1.7 million we spent in that building. And you want to hear a story? We've done weddings. We've done all kinds of events there. We actually had the whole city, that whole area closed down, and all the governors from all over the country came to Skyline at Water Place. The new mayor there, his name is Mayor Smiley, Brett Smiley, had come into office.
Great name.
We did an event for him. I had a conversation with him. He said, whatever you need, we're going to give you. You have some great ideas for the city. We were going to do water fountains like the Bellagio behind you, et cetera, et cetera. Do you know, after the story that she ran, that the city of Providence has been trying to evict us from a long-term lease? They completely destroyed our business. Because who would want to get married at an event venue that they think is going to be evicted? And now, after months and months of money and turmoil and back and forth, and a place that's empty, and now there's drug dealers there, there's drugs all over the place, exactly what it was before we got it. Because of this article and these series of articles, this is what they do. They run away because it's easier to run away. Why listen to the facts? It's easier to run away.
So the Democrats who want to improve the inner city and help the homeless are the ones literally going out of the way to destroy it because you happen to like The Sopranos as a series. It seems like she just says, well, he must be something bad.
To me, the reality is the politicians are going to do what they do.
Unbelievable.
Right? Politics in Rhode Island is a sport. So if they see any kind of negativity that could come their way, they're not going to stand up for what's right. They're going to listen to this nonsense. This person completely and utterly tried to destroy so many different people, not just me. How about those homeless folks that can't get into, and then she'll say, oh, that had nothing to do with me. Of course it did. Words have power. And if you're going to say something and you're going to try to turn people against someone that's doing the right thing, look, I'm here to make money. I'm here, listen, I'm not perfect. I'm not here to say I'm a martyr, right? I'm a martyr, but I'm not a martyr, right? I have done some great things and I continually will do great things. But at the end of the day, this hurts so many people. I actually had state officials specifically say they will not work with Michael Mota. Here's a guy that only has had speeding tickets. I don't drink alcohol. I don't do drugs. Not that I'm saying there's anything wrong with those that do. They do whatever they have to do for themselves, but I haven't. I've never been arrested, okay? Because of this, we've been audited 3 or 4 times. Of course, they're not going to find anything. What are they going to find? You know what I mean? We have CPAs, and they do everything they need to do, just like Donald Trump. Right? Here's a guy that spent all his life. He's a multi-billionaire. They've audited this guy so many times, and all it does is just cost money and nonsense. It costs the government millions and millions of dollars. Just like
fake impeachment, fake Russian hoax, all this nonsense.
We could have had homeless living in the homeless shelter. You know what?
The more I talk to you, the more I see you as like a mini Trump. I really do. Your story is incredible.
It's just, definitely on a smaller scale, but it's the same thing. It's the same thing. They do the same thing. They don't want to hear it. They want the ratings. And then when it happens to politics, they don't want to deal with the nonsense. What would you want it, William? Would you want this reporter coming to you and saying, hey, governor, hey, state representative, hey, mayor, with everything you do with this person, we're going to be under a microscope for no reason? No police involvement, no FBI, no IRS, nobody. But you know what? Amanda Milkovich, because she all of a sudden has been hailed queen, and everybody's going to listen to what she has to say. Truth be told, and truth be damned, I gave her all the facts. If you listen to those tapes, it's on there. So when she said, are you being evicted? No, we're not being evicted. We did nothing wrong. When she said, did you have the homeless shelter? Absolutely. Why don't you meet me down there? I have the key to the doors. You'll see the beds ready for them to come in. But again, if people are delusional in this world.
The truth undermines her narrative. Therefore, she won't tell the actual truth and evidence. Now, I will show you this here. I have several co-hosts. I was going to tell you the guy that's my fiance, Mary, in the middle, right? Mm-hmm. These are my other 2 co-hosts. And then I have a former detective from New York City. I did 18 years in prison for nonviolent crime. The guy on the left may be running for Congress in Virginia. He's been my co-host now for a year and a half, retired, almost 30 years in federal law enforcement. He believes that people can change like me and that people are trying to do the right thing. The guy in the top right, like you, Frank Lordy, former commissioner, Youngstown, Ohio. Frank ran on an anti-corruption campaign. Guess what? He won. They put him in prison anyway for something so minor, it was like using a copy machine related almost. Put the man in prison. He gets out. 20 years later, got exonerated a few weeks ago, has a book out, Framed Innocence. We talk about people being falsely accused. These are people we're assisting. All California cases, 3 of them out of Fresno, twice voted the most corrupt city/county in the United States. If you Google it, Fresno, California, especially Dave Reinhardt there. His family stole what's worth hundreds of millions of dollars today. His sister's living in the biggest house in San Francisco, like a $40 million house. He's sitting in prison, destitute, was set up. He shot a police robot who broke into his house. We just filed into the courts what's called an amicus brief in support of something he filed, and they don't want it in because we are the only people in the wrongful conviction space that are reality TV stars, because I'm a reality TV star. My fiance was in my show, Inmate to Roommate. The only other reality TV star working in the arena of wrongful convictions and wrongful accusations is Kim Kardashian. So she's in the press release. She's in the amicus brief. She's not directly involved with this case with us, but we are looking to coordinate with her on a few other things. People change, like me. I'm guilty of what I did. I'm not sitting here saying I was wrongfully convicted. I was living in a criminal lifestyle. But I'm on here telling stories now of redemption, inspirational stories like yours, victimized stories like yours, because I am a Trump supporter and I see, as a fellow New Yorker, the crap that he's been through. You might not like his personal things or some of his comments and the way he talks, but guess what? He was in the construction business. He's a sarcastic New Yorker. Get over it. Get over it. The man's highly successful. He's run this country phenomenally compared to what we have now. And it seems like the Democrats just want to tear people down and not talk about their policies because they seem to be failing. I have some dear friends who are Democrats, including my co-author, Gary Greenberg. He's a writer with the National Enquirer for decades. Great guy. We don't see eye to eye politically, but we agree to disagree respectfully, and that's how it should be. But it just seems like this woman's going after you just like they went after Trump. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, the whole Donald Trump angle, obviously, I followed him for many years. I actually was one of the finalists on the original Apprentice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So you know, I've watched what he's done in life. And listen, I don't agree with everything he does. But you know what? At 6:15 the other night on Saturday, when there was an attempted assassination, you know, it really shocked the soul. We don't have the United States that we once were. We have to understand that times have changed. You know, we're not the same. You know, years ago, news didn't travel as fast. I'm here watching TV and I'm watching people actually talking to police officers, telling them that there's a sharpshooter on the roof and that, you know, you should take the person out. And here's a guy who was the president of the United States. And he was almost assassinated 1 millimeter away. And you know, we have an assassination of a president of the United States. This is not America. You know, being able to just say whatever you want, that's not America.
No, and the journalists were all calling for him to be harmed, physically harmed.
Of course.
I think it was Maxine Waters, and one of them said that she's going to take him out personally. Yeah. It was Biden a few days before that said he needs a bullseye on him. He's going to destroy this country.
And then he goes on an interview and he doesn't even remember what the word bullseye is. You know, look, I started as an independent. I'm more Republican now than I am, you know, Democrat. That's for sure. But at the end of the day, it's just common sense. You know, this election should be an easy one, right? We had one for 4 years. We had another one for 4 years. Which one was better? Right. You know, what's happening right now is just craziness. The guy is too old, you know, and senile. He shouldn't even be. Nobody would have them run a business for them right now. No way, shape, or form. And it's not age, because there's not an age number. It's how you're performing at that age. You know, I'm 43. Not every 43 is going to behave like me, and I'm not going to behave like every other 43-year-old. So you have to look at it the way it is. But right. The media, and I'm not attacking all media because I like a lot of them. I've had great stories for years. Now I reach out to them, and it's amnesia disorder, right? Because nobody wants to touch something that's hot, right? Why would they want to touch something? Why would the governor of the state of Rhode Island want to vouch for Mike Mota now, when Amanda Milkovich, the reporter, the investigator, the one that's been graced with to say what's truth and what's not truth? Why would he want to put himself at risk? Why would the mayor of Pawtucket? Why would the mayor of Providence? You know, it should be because of the citizens and what's right and what's wrong. But you know what? Now I've taken it into my hands, right? I hired an attorney. They have their attorney. They're going to argue that they have the facts. We're going to argue that we have the facts. And this is simple. We filed in Florida. The reason why we went to Florida is because I do a lot of business developing and real estate developing. This woman said the state of Rhode Island, this is a quote. The state of Rhode Island is looking for Michael Mota. It's so untrue. Like the whole state of Rhode Island's coming after me.
You're sitting in Rhode Island right now, by the way.
Yeah, come and get me. You know, because of mangrove trees that were cut down by someone that had nothing to even do with me. My wife laughed. She's like, "You don't even cut your own grass. How would you cut a mangrove?" But there's no facts. It's all headlines. How am I going to get this person? So we filed in the state of Florida. It's going to be a jury of the peers, right? Jury of my peers, and let them decide. Was I wrongfully beat up 17 times? Not once, not twice, 17 times. Are the facts on my favor, the facts in her favor? And you only have to have one or two of these be really bad to be proven. It is what it is. Now, it's funny because she said that everybody was after me and I have all these lawsuits. I would have loved to be a fly on the wall when she got served the other day. Now she's being sued. It's called.
There's something that comes up about her, and things are growing because we have numerous other outlets that are getting ready to interview you that we're going to be lining up to reach out to you, whoever you're comfortable with talking to. But journalistic ethics, this is about her, Milkovich. Accusations in the lawsuit and others claims that Milkovich uses manipulative tactics to coerce individuals to change their stories, just like you said, to fit her narrative. And this further questions her ethical standards as a journalist.
Listen, I don't know what you have to be a journalist. Okay. She had a comment. I had an honorary degree given to me, which is just that, an honorary degree. It means nothing.
Many people have them, right? That's right.
It just means that somebody wants to appreciate what you're doing. I can't go get a job from it. I don't do anything like that. She said I paid for it. Which is kind of ironic because I actually have 2 degrees. I have a bachelor's degree and a master's degree. And technically I paid for both, right? Because you have to pay for the colleges to get your diplomas, right? Never spoke about those accolades or where I got those and how I have a master's degree and my educational level is even higher than hers. No, exactly. She talked about a doctorate that was given to me as an honorary doctorate, trying to say that there's something to that. Again, why? I would just ask people why. Why would someone want to go to these lengths, right? If I was running for president of the United States, all right, I get it. You want to come after me. You want to judge my character. Other than that, what is it for? I get a line of people here that'll tell you great stories about me. And I'm sure I could tell you a bunch of people that don't like me anymore because they stole 100,000 from me. They robbed me from my event venue, that didn't come to work when they were supposed to do it. They stole things from me. Look, we could go all day long, but it's none of anybody's business. It's just the facts are the facts, and they will come out. And Peter is very colorful and very smart, and this is what he does. He went after Hillary Clinton. He's got a lawsuit right now against the princess Meghan Markle.
Meghan Markle, Harry's wife, former Prince Harry, the British royal family. Her sister Samantha is a dear friend of mine and another occasional co-host right here on this show. Okay. So I know Samantha very well. Peter does represent her. I believe that we're going to go after Netflix and Oprah also because they greenlit everything, and Oprah tried to get out of it saying, well, I'm just a journalist. And they said, no, you're also executive producer. Therefore, you're liable what's said on your show and what you went along with these lies and put them out there. I think Oprah had to pull down a whole show over that lawsuit or over the accusations.
Listen, it's time to hold people accountable. If this president has not shown that people need to be held accountable, everybody needs to be held accountable. If you're going to be a journalist or an investigative reporter, well, you better have your facts straight, and you better not be screwing around, because at the end of the day, words have meaning, right? They have repercussions. I'm not going to suffer for the rest of my life because an individual decided that she wanted to come after me, and we'll see how it goes. It's going to be.
What's interesting, and I'll point out something you said earlier again, just to refresh the viewers' minds. You did say something along these lines. Look, I have a thick skin. I'm a businessman. I'm involved with a lot of things, trying to, earn a living and help people, right? So, but you have a thick skin and you could take it. But when it came to the point where it's affecting and hurting your family members, when it's hurting the people you're doing business with, when it's making you have to explain yourself again and again and again for no reason whatsoever, you did what you have to do and you got an attorney. So I found numerous lawsuits against the Boston Globe for similar things that they've settled. Going back even in 1979, Bruno Stillman versus the Globe newspapers. It was defamation case. 18 Izali versus Boston Globe Media Partners. It was another one, damaging statements in an article. It reflected actual malice in this case. Dan Blankenship defamation case against them. It looks like another one in 18. Media accuracy and the use of defamatory labels and statements during his political campaign. It was a political thing. They were also sued and had to settle for $5 million because they looked at a class action lawsuit for sharing subscriber data with Facebook without consent. So they've been involved with a few things. You know, everybody makes mistakes in business. Everybody eventually picks up some litigation, I guess. But in this case, when you have reputations on the line and you're trying to earn a living and you could prove that homeless people are still homeless directly because of this woman's reporting and the failure of her editors, evidently, in my opinion, to properly vet her stories or her reporting, that's a problem. That's a huge problem. It's costing you money. It's costing these people their safety, their livelihood. Maybe somebody passed away, because of this, because they're on the street. I mean, the cold weather's coming back here soon. Here we go.
Yeah, you wonder what they actually care about. You know what I mean? Like instead of writing a story, you should be writing a story of how, we busted our ass to get that place ready to go. I could show you the bathrooms and the bedrooms, and we were going to double the occupancy. This was before we even got involved with the 350 apartments for the veterans. The veterans and the affordable housing. You would think that I was trying to do something bad. Now, listen, I'm a for-profit, right? I have 2 kids. They have a bad habit. They like to eat, right? I have to take care of my family. That's what I do for a living. So, yes, of course, there's going to be money to be made. But you know what? Now what are we doing? What is the state? How did the state save money? Now they're putting them up in hotels. They built these little pods. They put them in front of a strip club. There's these little pods. There's like 300 of them. No bathrooms in the pods. They're like little trailers. They've been sitting there for almost 8 months. The winter's coming and there's still no plan. Again, I'm not running for office. I'm not here to save everybody. I'm here to do the best I can. I'm one individual. I could do a lot. And with the right support, I could do a ton. That city of Providence, I was going to have that whole thing, water fountains, beautiful. They read a story and now it sits there and there's drug dealers. We could go.
That reminds me of if you know Central Park in New York City, Woolman ice skating rink. Yeah. Donald Trump looked at it from his office for years in disarray. The city kept paying mobbed up contractors to fix it. Yep. Got ripped off for decades. He stepped in and said, I'll do it. At that time, he wanted his name on it. And they said, no, If you want to fix it, you fix it. So anyway, he did it. He brought in a Canadian firm to redo that thing. It's one of the most beautiful ice skating rinks on the planet, done by one of the top firms in the world.
But he's a fake. He didn't do anything.
Right. But he does things to people. But you don't hear that story.
Yeah. Trump's name is everywhere. He comes off of his plane 48 hours after he got shot in the ear, and it could have been shot in the brain. Instead of going to be with his family, he wants to be with the United States of America to make it great again. Like,
that's right.
It's astronaut. But you know what? Look, William, one thing I've learned is that people are going to believe their delusions. And when they're delusional, we can sit here and argue. I tell people all the time, turn on CNN, turn on Fox News. The same story told 2 different ways. We don't even know what to do in life. So I don't even blame those people that have listened and read this article. Boston Globe. I was on the cover of the Boston Globe. Think about that for a second. I live in Rhode Island. It's the Boston Globe. It's all bullshit.
Does it have a big market there?
Can you have to sell me?
Can you go into a supermarket in Providence and the Boston Globe is there on the stands?
Oh, yeah. Rhode Island, you could do it in Florida. You could buy many. But what I'm saying is,
because of proximity, maybe they feel it's a relevant story.
Think it's real because it's the Boston Globe. They're like, oh shit, Mike Mota must have really done something this time. It's in the Boston Globe. They don't do the research that this was a person from Rhode Island who worked at the Providence Journal that tried to get me 7 years ago, but when the narrative didn't fit, she waited and waited and waited. She got hired by the Boston Globe because of failing newspaper sales, and they needed to expand their reach. And here now she's an investigative reporter. She probably makes, I don't know, 70,000, 80,000, probably miserable in life. And what does she want to do? She wants to come after somebody that's successful in life. But you know what? It stops today. I'm not going to allow it to happen. Not to me, not to my family. That's for sure. And now we'll have to see what happens. Yes.
I got a question for you. I want to wrap this up. We went a little long, but that's fine. If this was the last day of your life, I want you to look inside. This last day of your life, how do you want to be remembered to your family and your community with all this world, all the good that you did and the challenges you're facing now?
I hope I live to see tomorrow, but what I would want is first and foremost is that my family is protected and safe, and that they know that I did everything in my power to make them happy. I go to Disney World every year with my kids. I'm at every event, every opening of an envelope for my children. That's all that matters to me. I've never been to a bar. I don't sit at bar stools. I don't drink my life away. I don't do drugs. Again, I've been able to do right by them. That's all that I care about. If my kids are taken care of and my wife and family are taken care of, then I've had a good life. I've done some crazy shit. I've got tons of celebrity photos. I've flown on private jets. I live in a beautiful home. I've had all kinds of different things, but I'm still going. I have a lot to do. And this is not going to be the end. This is just the beginning. This is a chapter in my book. But I'm here now to do for others, William. I want to help others that don't have the same ability to show the truth. Let's go with the truth, and we'll take those monies and we'll do some more cool stuff with it.
Definitely. It was wonderful having you on. I will let you know that we are very active in the arena of wrongful conviction, and we actually I tell this at all my shows anyway, but it's kind of relevant. We do have a way that you could donate to the work we're doing on that behalf. If you're out there listening and you care about people that are innocent sitting in prison, we do work with them. We try to give them a spotlight on their stories. We're not attorneys. We advocate for them with their attorneys in conjunction with PR people, with my firm. I'm starting a PR firm called Steal a Spotlight as well, and I'm working with Tom Madden at TransMedia. I'm not an employee of his. He's a dear friend. He actually introduced me to my fiance. Michael, we thank you. We thank Bruce Sosa for also letting us know that we could trust each other. So I'm glad you're on the show.
Yes, and then the late, great Gandolfini, who was looking at us the whole event, the whole show. Thank you very much, William. I appreciate it. I appreciate everybody listening. Hopefully it was colorful. And listen, keep looking into that reporter. Just type her name in and go read stories that she did and see how many people she's tried to destroy.
We'll see what we can do.
It stops today.
I know a lot of PIs and lawyers are actually looking at it as we speak. So again, thank you for coming on. If you make it down to Silent Partners premiere in Boca Raton in a few weeks, I'm in it. Then we're filming a prison comedy after that. Then a drama series, a movie about my life as well.
Awesome. You're the man.
God bless everybody. Thank you. And thank you, Bruce. And thank you, Peter. And thank you, Tom.